Amber, great to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Amber, you first auditioned for this part in early 2020. It goes away, it comes back, you're asked to audition again, and you start crying, I heard, but not tears of joy, tears of fear. Why is that?
I honestly don't know. I love that the story is traveling around. Um, uh, it's because I keep talking about it. Um, no, I don't really know actually. I was just like, it was just so much anxiety. Somebody told me and I just immediately started crying. I think the probably like when I think about it, it's probably just like the responsibility, like understanding. I think the more that something stays vague, the more that like the buildup of like whatever it must be like that kind of compiles, and then finding out it was just this like and like really kind of gluing my brain to the concept of like everything this would be, and the idea that there were no more mysteries, but also that meant that like, okay, now everything has to be like fulfilled and followed through with, because there are a tremendous amount of big things being accomplished in this movie, so to like see them all at once I think was very overwhelming.
Well, you're talking about, the fact that there'll be no more mysteries and stuff. And you'd think Dan would give you the news in a really fabulous way, but he adds more mystery to whether or not you got the part. Like, how are you feeling when you take that call? Are you thinking, did I? Did I not get the part?
It was not, the phone call was not about like, did you get the part? He called, he did this to both Dakota and he gave me, I forget what he said to Dakota, but he gave me a riddle,
Yeah.
which I know we both failed. And he said something like, if you had to get somewhere by air, what would you take? And I was like, a hang glider. And he was like, no. And I was like, he was like, it has a motor. What would you say? And I was like, a hang glider with a motor. And he was like, no, you're supposed to say get to the chopper because you're the new Arnold. And I was like, oh, it like kind of set in. But, now it's funny to laugh at.
At the time, they'd be going, so are you telling me I have the part? But you did, in fact,
I
get
was
the
just
part.
so focused on like wanting to get the riddle
Yeah.
right and then getting it wrong. I was mostly like, how would you? I like thought that it was an interesting question. I was like, how would you get somewhere by air with that?
But then you get the part. And I love that in this film, Naru actually says, I've been practicing. It's time. I'm ready. Before you could say those words, there was lots of practice that you had to do. Tell me about that 4-week boot camp. How intense was that?
Yeah, I mean, we were there every morning to every evening, and there was weapons training. So like we had, archery and the tomahawk and lance and knives and stuff like that. And then the stunt team was there, and they were kind of like putting the fights together and cycling people through. Whoever like had stuff with them would like go in and put together their fights or learn or, do things like that. And then we had like a personal training element. Um, as well as like we developed a sign language for the movie that was based on like real Comanche sign language. And we just like ran drills and practiced and, tried to get as ready as possible.
So you did the practice, you got ready, you made the film, and now the posters start being released with your face on them. Amber, how does that feel? Like, I know you knew what you were doing. I know you knew you were making a movie, but then to actually see the posters coming out and to know that people are actually going to watch you.
Yeah, that's kind of weird to think about. I'm very like surprised. I mean, all the artwork is super cool. Like I feel very fortunate that it's like everything about this movie is not just like, oh, a very cool action movie or like a very meaningful one, but it's also like so pretty to look at. And I think our artwork is the same. But yeah, when I saw the poster, like the one that has like my face on, I mean, this one is also very cool. I remember I saw that and I was like, I didn't know that picture existed. But then when I saw like the one of my face, was like, I just spent so long being like, like I think it's like slowly sinking in the fact that this movie like is a Predator film. Cause like in my brain, it was just this like, we were like isolated in Canada when we were shooting it. Like the borders were closed and it was just us. So it felt very like, we're just like in the woods, just like doing a thing together. Like it didn't all kind of live in my brain all at once. It was very like, just each day we wake up and sometimes we go in a river and sometimes we go in a mud pit. Sometimes we do this. And then now it's like looking back and being like, oh wow, like all that was like this, you know?
Well, now it's out there for all of us to enjoy. The reviews have been amazing. People are calling you badass. You're amazing as you are. How does that feel? And finally, do you think this means it's the start of a new franchise starring yourself?
I have no clue, but it feels honestly, I mean, surreal, of course. But like that to me just doesn't sound like a real thing. I'm like, hey, yeah, somebody like my mom wrote a bunch of headlines and then sent them to me, you know? But like it's more so, I think, meaningful and a relief in the sense of like the biggest thing to me about this was wanting to do a good job at representing Comanche people and Indigenous people, especially women, well. And so to have feedback like that and have people like it or like the character is like small pieces of confirmation that hopefully the goal is like being accomplished on some level. And that to me is what means the most about it.
Amber, you achieved it on many levels. So enjoy all of this. Thank you.
Thank you.